Hi, this is going to be your first lesson on programming. So we're going to have a look at variables. You need to have watched the video on setting up Visual Studio Code. And if you've set Visual Studio Code up, you should have something very similar to what I've got set up here. I've got an index.html and I've opened it in the browser, and I've opened the Chrome console with F12 or through the more tools and the developer tools. So once you've got this set up, I highly recommend you have a little go. You don't have to follow it exactly, just have a little go. I will be wanting you to take some screenshots of this at some point and hand it in. So what we're going to just have a look at is some variables. So what are variables? Variables in a programming language are a way of storing information. So you could think of it like a box. A box will have something in it, maybe a book, and a variable can have some piece of data in it. So let's look at a simple example. We can make a variable using the word let. Now if you're following along on JSBin, that won't work necessarily. You'll need var. So I'll use var in this example, but var and let are very similar. They allow you to declare a variable. So I'll use var for variable, and we'll have var name equals, and then you could put your name like this, and then I could do console.log. So this line just prints something to the console, and I'm going to use name. So this name here, constant name, this is from here. So if I now save this and refresh my page, it will print my name. Now you'll notice that this word doesn't have the quotation marks. If I put quotation marks here, it will print the word, let me just save that, it will print the word name. So this is a word, it's called a string of characters, but this is a variable. So variables don't have the speech marks, and you'll notice it's in a different color as well. So we want to print out the variable name like that. So save it, whoops, not save that, save the project, and it will print out. So you can change this to whatever you want. Save it, refresh, and it will print out whatever's stored in that variable. So this word here, you could call it whatever you wanted. You could call it AAAAA, and then so long as this matches, then it will work. Let's change this to Alice. It will work because this is really this, and that's being put into that. So that's how variables work. If you did this, let's just change it again, it will give you an error because it will say this doesn't exist. It's not the same as this because it's got two capital A's in it. So that's just something to bear in mind. So let's go back. Name is Fred. So I've used the word name because the word name really describes what this is. It just makes more sense. If I put age Fred, the computer won't complain at that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a word. But for someone reading the program, that wouldn't make a lot of sense calling it age and putting Fred. So let's put a number in there. Let's put 18. And then when we refresh, it says 18. So that's makes a lot more sense. So in this case, we're storing a number. We could store a decimal number and so on. So we can do things like that. We can also store what's called Boolean values. And we've got true and false. So if I save that, it's true and false. So true and false are used quite a lot in programming. They have specific meanings, which we'll come on to in a little while. So you can say something is true or false, and that has a specific meaning. So we've got words, we've got numbers and booleans, and we can also have like a list of things. So Bob, Fred and cat. Okay, and then we can actually print, let's call this, let's call it people, and then we can say people, P-I, people. So if we do that, what we get now is a list of 3 people, because it's printing the whole list out. Let me just make that a bit smaller, a bit bigger. So it's printing the whole list out, and as you can see, we've got 3 things in the list. So we can actually get whichever one we want out of the list using these square brackets. So if I put people 0 and run that, it will just give us Bob, because he's 0, he's 1, and cat's 2. So I can put number 1 and I'll get Fred. I can put number 2 and I'll get cat. And if I put number 3, I'll get undefined, because it doesn't exist. I mean, I could add another one. And if I run it now, I'll get Alice. So this gives you a hint that things, you could use this in lots of different ways. The way I'm using it now, it's not very powerful. But let me just, you don't need to follow along the next bit. I'm just demonstrating why you could use this. So for, let's say var x equals 0, x is less than, let's say 4, and then we'll say x plus plus, and then we'll do console.log x. So we can print everything out in the list. That's the number, sorry. We want people x. So what this is going to do is x will be 0 and it will print Bob, and then it will loop round, and then x will be 1, and then it will be Fred, and then it will be cat and Alice. So the advantage of this is, let's say I wanted to print it the other way around. I could. Hopefully print it the other way around, which it's not doing. For some reason. Oh, I know why. I need to change this the other way around. There we go. Alice, cat, Fred, and it's not printed Bob. We need to do -1. Okay, so we'll come on to doing these loops later, but as you can see, you could do things with it. and it's very, very useful in lots of situations. But that's a list. So let's summarize what we've done. And I'm going to use 2 slashes to make a comment. So these are variables, and we've got something like name equals Paul. So this is a string. Then we've got age equals 18. This is a number. Then we've got raining equals false, and that's a Boolean. And then we've also got people equals Tom, Alice, Alice and Bob. And this is a list. So we've got some different types of ways we can store information, and this is what I'll be wanting you to do. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to make some variables, and you can use these words if you want, and put your own variables in here and make your own list, and then I want you to take a screenshot of it and upload it. I will put this on Google Classroom for you. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to run it. Oh, I haven't printed anything out. So I'd have to do console.log, and then I'd have to do one of these for each one. Name. I'd have to do console.log age. I'd have to do console.log raining, and I'd have to do console.log people. And if I print that out, I'll get all the things back that I've put in. So I want you to take a screenshot of what you've done. So just your own examples. Don't put Tom, Alice and Bob. You could do pets, or you could do cars, or you could do whatever you want. You don't need to do raining, you could do happy or whatever. So you can pick whatever you want, but I want you to give an example of each one of these types of data: a string, a number, a Boolean and a list, and print them all out. Take a screenshot of the whole thing using print screen, should be on your keyboard, and then upload it to the point what I've put on the computer on your Google Classroom. If you can't do it in Visual Studio, have a go at doing it in the web interface in JSBin. And if you get stuck, then when you come in on Tuesday, you can ask me about it, or if you're still stuck, we can talk about it another time online. Okay, good luck.